Have you ever asked God for a confirmation or a sign before you moved into something that He told you to do? And then He gave you that sign, you moved into that thing, but the next time He gave you an instruction or a promise, you find yourself asking Him for another confirmation again? If you've experienced this, what I want to do in this episode is I want to break the cycle of you being dependent upon signs and confirmations so that you can start learning how to walk in God's instructions confidently and boldly. A few episodes back, we read the story of Exodus chapter 3. And in this story, this is where God appeared to Moses and he told him to go to King Pharaoh and demand for the king to let the Israelites go and free them for slavery. And in that episode, we honed in on verses 11 through 12, because in verses 11 through 12, Moses basically asked God, like, who am I to appear in front of a king? Who am I to, do this grand thing that you're calling me to do? And right after that, God gave him a sign. God said, after you deliver my people, you will come to this very mountain and you will worship me. And so in that episode, we were talking about how sometimes the signs that we are looking for is going to come after we do the things that God told us to do. And so in this episode, what I want to do is I want to go a little deeper with you. So I want to read to you Exodus chapter 4, verses 1 through 17. It says, "But Moses protested again. What if they won't believe me or listen to me? What if they say, 'The Lord never appeared to you'?" Then the Lord asked him, "What is that in your hand?" "A shepherd's staff," Moses replied. "Throw it down on the ground," the Lord told him. So Moses threw down the staff and it turned into a snake. Moses jumped back. Then the Lord told him, "Reach out and grab its tail." So Moses reached out and grabbed it, and it turned back into a shepherd's staff in his hand. "Perform this sign," the Lord told him. "Then they will believe that the Lord, the God of their ancestors, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, really has appeared to you." Then the Lord said to Moses, "Now put your hand inside your cloak." So Moses put his hand inside his cloak, and when he took it out again, his hand was as white as snow, with a severe skin disease. "Now put your hand back into your cloak," the Lord said. So Moses put his hand back in, and when he took it out again, it was as healthy as the rest of his body. The Lord said to Moses, "If they do not believe you and are not convinced by the first miraculous sign, they will be convinced by the second sign. And if they don't believe you or listen to you even after these two signs, then take some water from the Nile River and pour it out on the dry ground. When you do, the water from the Nile will turn into blood on the ground." But Moses pleaded with the Lord, "Oh Lord, I'm not very good with words. I never have been, and I'm not now, even though you have spoken to me. I get tongue-tied, and my words get tangled." Then the Lord asked Moses, "Who makes a person's mouth? Who decides whether people speak or do not speak, hear or do not hear, see or do not see? Is it not I, the Lord? Now go. I will be with you as you speak, and I will instruct you in what to say." But Moses pleaded again, "Lord, please send anyone else." Then the Lord became angry with Moses. "All right," he said, "what about your brother Aaron the Levite? I know he speaks well, and look, he is on his way to meet you now. He will be delighted to see you. Talk to him and put the words in his mouth. I will be with both of you as you speak, and I will instruct you both in what to do. Aaron will be your spokesman to the people. He will be your mouthpiece, and you will stand in the place of God for him, telling him what to say. And take your shepherd's staff with you and use it to perform the miraculous signs I have shown you." So we're going to stop right there. This story is really amazing to me because we know that in chapter 3, God told Moses that he would send him a sign, and that sign was going to come after Moses did what he told him to do. But even after God spoke that to him, Moses was still battling this insecurity in himself. He felt like he was not good enough to do this instruction that God gave him. He felt like he could not speak properly enough, and he did not have what it takes. And instead of God lashing out in anger, God decided to send him more signs and send him more confirmations now. Now, yes, it is worded that these signs are for the people of Israel and these signs are for Pharaoh so that that they know that the Lord sent him, but this was also for Moses. Because if it wasn't for Moses, all God had to do was tell Moses about the signs that he should perform when he gets in front of the people. But instead, he showed Moses the sign beforehand because he was trying to prove to Moses, I am Lord. You are insecure because you don't fully trust me. You are doubting yourself because you don't fully believe me. So first I have to prove it to you, and then I'm going to prove it to the people of Israel. I have to get all of you guys on board so that you can all follow me into the promised land and the freedom that I have given you. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that God told Moses that the sign that he was looking for was going to come after he decided to do what God told him to do. But once he saw that Moses was still struggling, he was gracious enough to send him another sign and send him another confirmation that would come immediately. And so if you listened to the last episode, and you heard me when I said that sometimes, the sign that God is going to give you, that sign might come after you do the things that he told you to do. And you still been struggling. You still been battling. You still been feeling insecure. Know that the same way that God was gracious to Moses, he will be gracious to you. I need you to understand that it is okay to move like Moses. This is the reason why these people are in the Bible. We are supposed to look at their stories. We are supposed to relate to their stories. So if you can relate to God giving you an instruction, and if you can relate to still struggling after knowing that you should move into this without a sign, take what Moses did, be real with God, and he may be gracious to you and give you another sign before you move. But it's important for us to understand that if we're going to move like Moses, we have to move like Moses the whole way. So I was looking up the entire story of Moses. And when I was looking at his story, I really was observing the way that he moved in situations after God gave him these confirmations. So in Exodus chapter 9, verse 23, God gave Moses another instruction. This is when Moses was trying to get the Pharaoh to let the Israelites go. God told him to raise his staff toward the sky and bring a storm of hail over Egypt. And if you look at this verse, Exodus chapter 9, verse 23, it says that Moses obeyed instantly. Then in Exodus 14, verses 16 through 21, this is the story of when Moses and the Israelites were trying to escape King Pharaoh and his people. It says that they were trapped by Pharaoh's army, and God told Moses to lift up his staff and stretch out his hand over the sea. And in that verse, it says that Moses obeyed immediately. Then in Exodus chapter 17, verse 5 through 6, the Israelites were on their journey to the promised land, and they were complaining about not having any water. And so God told Moses to strike the rock with his staff. And it said that he did exactly what God said, and water flowed out instantly. What am I trying to get at? If you observe the story of Moses in its entirety, you will see that Moses only needed a confirmation from God once. In chapter 3, when Moses was first introduced to God, and he was first given this assignment by God, he asked God, who am I to do this? And God gave him his word that your sign is once you come out, I'm going to do this for you. But in Exodus chapter 4, Moses was still struggling. He was still struggling, feeling like he was insecure. He was still struggling, feeling like he didn't have what it takes. And God decided to give Moses another sign in front of his face. But if we notice, after this sign, after God gave him the sign and allowed his brother to go with him, we never saw Moses ask God for a sign again. Every time that God gave Moses an instruction, he just moved. Every time that God gave Moses an instruction, go look up the verses that I just gave you on Moses' story. They all say that once God gave Moses that instruction, Moses obeyed immediately. He didn't procrastinate. He didn't drag his feet. He didn't make excuses. He didn't say, I'm waiting on God. He only needed a confirmation from God once. And every time after that, he quickly obeyed anything that God told him to do. And this is why I feel like it's important for me to share this topic in this episode with you today, because this is where many of us get tripped up in our relationship with God. When God gives us an instruction, we are not quick to move on it. We sit back and we say that we're waiting on him to confirm himself. We want more discernment. We want more confirmation. We want him to prove that this is him and that he wants us to take this step. And what this results in is us being slow to obedience. But then we get discouraged. We get discouraged because when we pray to God, we want immediate results. But how can you want immediate results when it comes to God, but you don't have immediate obedience? Some of you are in a season where you have been praying to God for something, and God has answered you and he has given you step one. And so instead of immediately going and doing step one, you sat back and you said, God, can you confirm yourself to me? Because I just want to make sure that it's you. And I just want to make sure that I have what it takes. And I just want to make sure that, I'm building up the confidence to overcome my fear, because it's not that I actually don't believe you, but it's actually that this step that you gave me made me very uncomfortable. And I don't feel confident moving in it the same way that Moses didn't feel confident. So can you give me a confirmation or a sign? And then God gives you a sign. And so you move into that step, and now he gives you instructions over step two. And instead of being obedient over step two, now you're like, okay, God, can you give me, more confirmation over step two, just so that I know that is you, and just so that I know that this is what you want me to do, and help me overcome my insecurity and this, that, and the third. And so he gives you another sign. And then next step, he gives you another sign. And then the next step, he gives you another sign. And guess what? You are in a cycle of needing and relying on signs and confirmations in order to do the things that God has told you to do. For some of you, you have been in a season where you prayed to God for something years ago or months ago, and you asked God for a sign and he gave it to you. And now you are standing here years or months later, and you're praying to God for something completely different, and he's speaking into you right now. And instead of moving on what he told you to do, you are sitting back asking him to prove himself, or asking him for another sign. And guess what? You fall into the cycle of relying on signs and confirmations in order to do what God told you to do. But just like Moses, I need you to understand that you only need a sign from God one time. And if you're listening to this and you still don't get it, I want to read to you 2 Peter chapter 1, verse 17 through 19. I actually stumbled upon this verse when I was reading my Bible, and it fit perfectly with this episode, so I decided to put it in. But to give you some context, this is when Peter was talking about hearing the voice of God when he was with Jesus. So it says, when he received honor and glory from God the Father, the voice from the majestic glory of God said to him, "This is my dearly loved Son, who brings me great joy." We ourselves heard that voice from heaven when we were with him on the holy mountain. Because of that experience, we have even greater confidence in the message proclaimed by the prophets. You must pay close attention to what they wrote, for their words are like a lamp shining in a dark place. Let's stop right there. In this story, Peter is talking about when he was with Jesus and God came and spoke to him about Jesus. That was a sign from God. That was a confirmation from God. And if you notice, he said, because of that experience, we have even greater confidence in the message of God. Because of that experience, we have even greater confidence in God and what he says to us and how he says things to us and what he wants us to do. So I don't have to continue asking God for confirmation after confirmation after confirmation, because when God gives me that one confirmation, that builds confidence in me. That builds trust that I have in him. The whole point that I want you to get is that you cannot be stuck in a cycle of needing sign after sign after sign when it comes to God, because that is proof that you do not trust him. After everything that he has brought you through, after all these promises that he has gave you, after the entire journey that he has taken you on, you are still in a place where you lack faith in him, where you do not trust him, where you need to rely on confirmations instead of relying on him. You have not come to the conclusion that God is magnificent. You have not come to the conclusion that God is great. You have not come to the conclusion that God will never leave you. You have not come to the conclusion that God will never bring you this far, or God will never give you a word that he does not intend to bring into your life. You have not built any confidence in God. And that's what you have to do today. So I challenge you today that if you are in a season where you have been praying to God for another sign, you have been praying to God for another confirmation, I need you to wipe that out of your vocabulary. And I need you to think deep down, what is something that God has already showed me? What is the sign that God has already gave me? In what way did God already confirm this instruction or confirm this promise to me? And just hold on to that. Hone in on that. Allow that to build your confidence and build your faith in him. Stop dismissing this sign as a one-off. Stop dismissing this sign as if it's not magnificent, and hold on to it and allow it to build faith in you to trust God. And I know that some of you are going to listen to this and you're still going to have questions. You're still going to be asking yourself things like, okay, well, what if God did send me a sign, but I'm not 100% sure that is God? Because maybe I struggle with discernment. Maybe I struggle to understand if it's me speaking, if it's God speaking, if it's the devil speaking. Like, how do I know that this is a sign from God? Number one, I want you to look at your heart posture when you get this sign. How are you feeling? Are you feeling anxious? Are you feeling stressed? Are you feeling worried? Or are you feeling at peace? I'm not going to lie. Anxiety, stress, overwhelm, all those things are not signs from God. So if you're getting a sign or an opportunity, or you're hearing something and it's sparking those type of emotions in you, then that might be a clear sign that this sign that you just got did not come from God. Number two, I want you to ask yourself, is this instruction or is this sign or confirmation that I am getting, what is it asking me to do? What does it relate to? Is it something that honors God, or is it something that involves lying, manipulation, toxicity? Because one thing about God, he's never going to send you a sign of something that completely dishonors him. He's never going to send you a sign of something that goes against him. So you have to look at, what is the sign? What is it involving? Does it involve things that honor God, or does it involve things that God would not be pleased with? Because if it involves things that God would not be pleased with, then that's a clear sign that this sign did not come from him. And the last thing that I want you to do, number three, is if you answer questions number one and you answer questions number two, and you realize that, yeah, this sign does bring me peace. And yes, it does look like something that will honor God. Then I want you to pray before you move. And this prayer does not have to be long. All you have to do is say, God, I feel like you are telling me yes. I feel like this is coming from you. So I want to go ahead and I want to move in this area. And if it is not your will, redirect me. See, what I'm not going to do is sit on the sidelines and wait for God to pull me in. Sometimes I'm going to have the courage, after I use discernment, after I discern the area and I realize that this might be safe, this might be God speaking to me, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take steps in that area, and I'm going to trust that if this is not God's will, and if I did misinterpret the situation, that God is going to pull me and he's going to redirect me to his path. But I'm not going to sit there scared and fragile, waiting to move because I don't know if it's God. I'm going to do everything that I can to discern this. I'm going to pray about it, and then I'm going to start taking steps in that direction. And guess what? If it works out, I'm going to allow that experience that sign, that confirmation, God bringing the promise to build confidence in me. I need you to understand, you do not need God to send you another confirmation. He has already proven to you that he's capable of doing what he promised to do. He has already proven to you that when he gives you an instruction, it will work out. And so you have to hone in on those. See, the problem is when things happen months ago or, years ago, we tend to forget it. But you have to hone in on it. Keep remembering it. Write it down. Document it. Look back at it so that it can build your confidence in God. Or now when you're in a season when he's trying to bring you something else or he's trying to move you on to the next step, instead of sitting there acting like you're starting from, scratch and you've never gotten anything from God before, you're trusting him boldly because you have the attitude of, well, I remember when he told me to do this and he sent me this sign and everything worked out. So now I can trust him again. These confirmations should not be one-offs. They should be building your obedience and building your confidence in God. But that is all that I have for you today. Before we go, I do have a weekly action step that I would love to give you. So sometime this week, I want you to ask God to remind you of one time where he either came through for you when you obeyed him or sent you a sign or confirmation. Then I want you to write that thing down so that you can reflect on it and allow it to build confidence in you. And then I want you to pray, Lord, please help me move the same way as I did before. But that is all that I have for you today. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you subscribe so that you get a notification every time a new episode is released. Also, leave a review and let me and others know how you enjoyed the show. And if you want to stay connected, follow me on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Prospering with Christ. Well, that's all I have for you today, and I will see you next week.